Alice, welcome to your first and hopefully one of many webinars here at Madison Trust Company. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. So, fun fact, this is actually my second webinar. So, this is going to be really fun for me because the first one was an absolute disaster. So, no, just kidding. No, it actually went over really well. But Alice, you and I have been working together for a few months now, kind of bringing people through the process, exploring how this is all kind of like a great concept for people to be able to use retirement money to get into, certain investments and things like that. So some of the questions that we have are going to be framed around, what you do, how everything kind of works with us in the picture, those kinds of things. To kind of kick things off, one of the questions we have would be, how did you start rock climbing and what did why did you start Sender One?
So I think I might have told you this, but like I started climbing, and a lot of people can relate to this. I started climbing after this terrible breakup about 20 years ago. I didn't get out of bed. I was like super depressed, and I was working and living in Hong Kong, and I moved to London to run away from my life. And when I got there, it was really cold and it rained all the time, and it was just, 4:30 in the afternoon. It was dark outside. So a friend of mine took me to a climbing gym and he introduced me to the community, and it changed my life forever. So I fell in love with climbing, and then I came back to the US in '08 during the recession, and I was climbing here locally at a climbing gym, and I met my business partner, my husband, and we just had this idea. We're like, you know what? I think that climbing can help people. Like it helped us. So we and actually at first, the first gym we opened, it was all funding from friends and family. It was like my best friend and my sister and my sister-in-law, my brother. And we ran around like with a PowerPoint, had no experience, and we just like asked people to give us money. Like, hey, can you write me a $10,000 check? Do you want to be my investor in this dream? And at first, we wanted to build a climbing gym on the weekends because, I had another job. So it's funny, I'm familiar with like the whole retirement thing because I worked in the toy industry and I was a W-2 employee for I don't know, 15 years. I took a lot of that money and put it into the business, but I wanted to do this thing on the weekends. Like that's really how I started.
It's incredible how like this just minor little decisions in life or little turns can kind of take you down this like different path altogether. And now you're an independent business owner. You have this amazing set of gyms across the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken, right?
We're all in LA, so sort of LA and Orange County, Southern California.
Okay,
Yeah.
very cool. I'm hopefully trying to get out there and actually see all of this, all of this awesomeness that you guys are doing on your end. But I'm really just really super pumped that we get to work together. And this is just such an interesting concept that it's different than your traditional like, oh, here's a hedge fund or here's a private placement. This is kind of a little bit different because it's not just something you typically see in like the retirement or financial industry. It's like a really interesting business. So that's why Sender One is one of my favorite ones personally in terms of my
Thank you.
sponsors that I work with. So on that note, if you could tell me a little bit about the climbing industry and then climbing in LA 28.
Yeah. So look, when we started the business, it was like an underground thing, right? It was very niche. Like no one heard about it. And if you went to the climbing gyms 15 years ago, it was just like a bunch of dudes climbing with their shirts off and a lot of tattoos, because I can imagine that. If you just Google it, actually, you'll find that. But today, when you come to climbing gyms, it's not just at mine, it's like everywhere in the world. They're like very diverse, a lot of women. My customers are 50-50. I think I'm like 50.8% women and 49.2 men. And it's like also one of the things I think we do really well, and you can see this behind me, is we have this family climbing area. So we make climbing very accessible and very friendly for families. And that kind of came from me because like I have small children myself. I have a 7 and 12-year-old, and I wanted to be able to go to the gym and feel like I fit in and feel like I can take my kids to the climbing gym with me. So when we started, it was kind of like that. But over the last 15 years, the industry has really transformed. And I feel very
Mm.
lucky to like have been a part of that. I think I'm part of moving the industry in this direction, but I think entrepreneurship is a lot of luck and hard work, right? So it's really, you have to have luck. It's not just hard work. And in cup, maybe it's in 18, it was announced that climbing is in the Olympics. So climbing was in
Yeah.
the Olympics in Tokyo, and then it was in the Olympics in Paris, and then now this is like totally luck. It's in LA in 28. And actually, there's like my gyms are strategically located, literally next to all the Olympic venues. That is also luck because I had no idea where they're going to put. They just announced it. So there's a the climbing is going to be at the Long Beach Climbing Center. So one of our gyms is literally 5 minutes down the street. I think I Googled it exact, maybe like 12 minutes. And then
Oh,
the
that's awesome.
athletes are going to be living at UCLA, and we have a gym in Westwood Village. So it's actually a very exciting time to be in the climbing industry. And
Yeah.
I really like I believe in like good luck and bad luck, and COVID was like a terrible thing that happened to the industry, but the Olympics is a great thing that's happening to the industry.
Yeah. It gets finally giving that recognition that it deserves in all honesty. Because as
Right.
someone who has I have a group of friends that are like die-hard rock climbers. That's like all they do. I was like, oh, you want to go to the gym? They're like, no, I want to go climbing. Come with us. And with all due respect, I tried climbing. My body mass index is very far off to the right. I'm a very heavy person by a scale sense. So climbing is a little bit more difficult for me, but I have a lot of respect for people who do it. Some of my favorite celebrities and such, like for example, Jason Momoa, big rock climber, big advocate for it. So I have a lot of respect for the art, is what I'm going to call it. It's more than a sport, in
We're
my
actually
opinion.
today, right after the one of his climbing shoes here. So you can try out Jason Momoa's climbing shoe here.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't even know he had climbing shoes. That's actually
Mhm.
really interesting.
Yeah, he's been here a bunch
Yeah.
of times. Like sometimes if you come here, you'll see him. Yeah.
Oh, I hope I catch him one day. Like when I actually get out there, hopefully he'll be there because I'm a big fan of him. But without making this a webinar about Jason Momoa, we'll move on to our next our next question. You did bring up the how COVID kind of affected the industry a little bit. What was it like for you guys specifically, like with COVID going on and everyone having to be distance and things like that? How did that affect you guys?
Oh my God, it was terrible. Wait, so tell me, like, where do you live again, Christian? Where are you guys based?
So I'm on the East Coast. So I'm in New Jersey.
Okay.
Our office is located here in Montvale.
So I know people on this call are like from all over, right? But if you remember in California, we were one of the hardest, it was just like the one of the most locked down states. So my gyms, I was the first one to close. I closed on March 15th, and I was the last one to open. And in total, the gyms were closed for 11 months. 11 months. And then
Oh my
after we
gosh.
opened, we were in the county of LA. So if people, I don't know if you read the news about this, but like we had a mask mandate and a vaccine mandate. So like it was the
Mm.
craziest thing. People came in to climb and were like, "Hey, let me see your vaccine card." Like that is like not my business. Like why should I be checking people's
Yeah.
vaccine card? And then you should go back and read some of the Yelp reviews we got during that time because people were so angry at us for checking vaccine cards. And I'm like, I'm just trying to stay in business and give people jobs. But it
Yeah.
was devastating. I mean, I think that a lot of, especially entertainment type fitness businesses, were really struggling or didn't survive because it was just terrible conditions. Yeah.
No,
So,
yeah. I mean, we saw a lot of businesses kind of go under during COVID just because of the restrictions, whether it be restaurants, movie theaters. I mean, you name it. There's a variety of different ones. The fact that Sender One was able to survive, I think, just speaks a lot to one, the base that you have in terms of clients, and also just how well you guys handle the business overall. But yeah, I just as someone who was on the East Coast, which granted near us, we did have some pretty aggressive restrictions. I feel like you're right, like 100%. California did have some really strict ones. We've seen stories, obviously, but news is what it is. Sometimes it's more fear mongering than whatnot. But
yeah, I
it's.
mean,
I'm glad you guys made it through. That's
it
my
really
big
took
point
us,
here.
I would say, like, it took us almost 3 years to recover from that. And then, but it cost us, millions of dollars and a lot of time. So it definitely set us back in progress, like probably 4 to 5 years when I think back now.
Yeah,
But look, this is what I was saying about like good luck and bad luck, right? Like COVID was a terrible thing that happened and it was really bad luck. And actually, some of my investors will ask me, they're like, well, what do you think is the biggest risk for my money if I invest in you? And I was like, well, what if like a COVID happened again? I was like, look, if you actually thought, like when I started this business, if I thought that I was going to go face COVID, I wouldn't have started. I just wouldn't have gotten out of
yeah,
bed.
yeah. Agreed. It was a
Yeah.
weird time. Luckily, it seems like a distant memory at this point. Like those 3 4 years just kind of flew by, but. A lot of us will never forget it, but I'm glad Sender One made it through the storm on that one and is now, in the position that they are now. Speaking of COVID and it being kind of like a challenge, in your opinion, what are some like the biggest challenges of like operating a climbing gym or operating a climbing business in general, outside of COVID, that is?
We are a service-oriented business, and I really fully understand this. Like, I don't sell a thing, right? When people invest in me, I'm not buying like a pen or a thing or a bottle of water. What we are selling is an experience. And the way that we deliver an experience is through the people. And, I hear a lot about AI, like, all day it's like, yes, you know what, this is the future. Yeah, I get it. You know what, in 10 years or maybe in 5 years, everyone's going to be driving around in self-driving cars. But I think what
Oh yeah.
people need more than ever in this world is they need genuine connections with real life people. And I think that's what they get. But I also think the biggest challenge with that is like managing the number of employees that we have in our
Hmm.
locations. Across our current 5 locations, we have about 200 people. And, I think that this is also not a surprise. I think that most of my employees are pretty progressive and they're young. And a lot
Hmm.
of them came out of like COVID, right? And they are still learning like social skills, honestly. And there's this like new expectation of the workforce that I think people are really struggling with. Like the young people are struggling, but and those are the people that we employ. So we take it upon ourselves as a responsibility to mentor them and to educate them and to teach them how to be good employees. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, yeah, some you've seen someone in some part of the new generation, their formative years were spent pretty much being isolated. So it
Right.
does like you mentioned, it does create that, isolationist kind of view and it makes it harder for them to kind of interact socially. That's something that I've really appreciated about, these different businesses like yours that have thrived throughout, they made it through COVID. It's not something you can digitalize. You're not going to be able to do rock climbing digitally. I mean, unless you have a VR headset, but that's not the same experience. So, I
Yeah.
mean, in all honesty, it's just one of those things that I feel like we need a lot more these days in terms of like real like life experiences, meeting people face to face, having genuine interactions. I think that's 100%, what a lot of people need these days, especially the younger generations that were kind of caged in because of COVID. But it's a really, really great take. I actually love that answer. Next question here is you pretty much answered this for the most part, but just to rehash it, where is sender one? Oh, I'm sorry, I misread this. I thought I said, where is sender one? But where is sender one going? And what's your vision for sender one climbing moving forward?
So actually, I kind of tie this back up to COVID a little bit, coming out of COVID. And I'll be honest,
Hmm.
I was like really tired. I really thought about selling the business because there's quite a number of private equity and strategic buyers that are looking to buy climbing gyms. And I really had to ask myself, like, do I really want to do this? Like, do I have like another 10 years in me? And I think what really allowed me to find my passion again for this business is the way that we are expanding. So what we are currently doing is we are scaling communities at scale and by raising money into our specific locations from local community members. So this current project, this is how I met you. I met you through one of my investors, right? I mean, I
Hmm.
have 80 some investors now in this project, and most of them live here. They live in this neighborhood. They come here, they shop at the Trader Joe's next door. They bring their kids to the birthday parties. I think what's really beautiful about that is that they're not just investors that like write a check. They are people that are gonna bring friends. They're gonna spend time in the space. They're gonna keep an eye on it. If there's a piece of trash on the floor, they're gonna pick it up because this is part of what they own. So what we are doing is creating opportunities for people in local communities to own a piece of a business in their community. We're building community centers.
Yeah,
And so
100%.
we have like this current project that's like, almost closed, but we just signed a lease for another one and we have a couple of other ones in the queue. But like that is our plan for the next 5 years. And we have a couple other things planned out through the Olympics. Yeah.
That's actually it. Great. I mean, I think the Olympics is going to really raise a bunch of awareness towards people in the climbing situation. I don't know if we can, if a lot of people in the chat will remember this, but remember when Michael Phelps was in the Olympics and he was just breaking records left and right? The rise in like people getting into swimming and diving and all kinds of different water sports just based on that one event in the Olympics and like the attention that it got. It was like an insane pop towards the swimming industry. I feel like that's going to be true now that rock climbing is included in the Olympics. I feel like the Olympics is getting a lot more, um, in my personal opinion, I think it's getting a lot more attention in more recent years than it has in the past. I think it's just kind of a great concept overall, but I think a lot of great things are going to be coming down the pipeline, especially with some of the clients that I've spoken with that we have now that are mutual. The passion I hear in them and the excitement to be able to invest into Sender One and kind of see where this is going in the future. I think the sky's the limit for you guys. I think it's going to be incredible, honestly.
Yeah.
In terms of what's it called? The final question I have here would be, what are the investment opportunities that Sender One kind of has at the moment? And then, what are you raising money for in terms of like the actual investments you guys going on? I'd love to learn what you have going on for the future.
Sure. So we're still raising, almost at the end, we're raising $6 million for a project in Aliso Viejo. So it's in South Orange County. We're at
Mhm.
about five right now as we currently stand, and I have a lot of leads. So I'm expecting to be closed with that round before the end of the year. The
Awesome.
minimum investment is $50,000. And I think I have like what, 20 investors that are in Madison. I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the current one that we're actively raising. We just signed a lease for another project in Thousand Oaks, California, and that's like close to sort of Santa Barbara or Ventura. It's in like
Hmm.
the Conejo Valley in North LA. You have to kind of live here to like know that
Yeah, yeah.
area. And that one we just started raising. I think I have one person in Madison with you. But we're raising 7 million for that project. So we just started.
Mm.
And then we have a small, like limited 8.5% interest only note that we're raising in the parent company. That is probably
Gotcha.
it's going to close by the end of the year. So we have a
Yeah.
couple of things. But there's also
Yeah.
like ongoing opportunities, like once in a while. Like I think we love this model of being able to, fundraise from the local community and from like everyday people. I don't have any investors that have like I don't have any institutional investors. I have a couple of um, sort of wealthy individuals, but like no big one person. Do you know what I mean? Like a
Yeah,
big controlling
100%.
investor. And I think I love that about it because I think it's giving people opportunity to be part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It kind of feels like organic growth of the business rather than having like a large corporation or company come in to, to spike the efforts. It's kind of like people investing, like you said, into their community and kind of making this like their own passion project in a way, which is something really great and something that I personally like about Sender One.